So I'm Paul Dergarabedian, Senior Media Analyst for Comscore, and it's an absolute honor for me to have on the show on the Comscore video series, Akshaye Widhani. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Yash Raj Films, and he has taken the reins of India's biggest, foremost, and most coveted studio to strengthen top-line growth, drive initiatives, and expansion for the brand on a global scale. Prior to becoming only the second ever CEO in Yash Raj Films history, you have served in an amazing leadership role. Akshay, I have to say, your films and what you've done in terms of Indian cinema is second to none. And I want to really get into this in the sense of talking about the footprint of Indian cinema and how it's ever expanding. And so is the global appeal. And I've noticed this in my tracking of the box office. For a movie like Pathaan to be number 3 at the box office in late January in the domestic marketplace, everyone was talking about this. I want to talk about this in more detail. So you launched Pathaan in a record 100 territories, day and date. What do you attribute this landmark achievement to?
So firstly, thank you, Paul. It's wonderful to be here, and it's great to be talking to you. It's a great time for Indian cinema. As we've seen that our stories are traveling, crossing borders, they're reaching new geographies. There is a lot of excitement about our content. I'm sure we're going to talk more and more as we go along about all the big achievements that Indian cinema has made in the recent past.
Right.
But when I look at Pathaan, it's credit to my global distribution team that's worked tirelessly on opening all these new markets for us post-pandemic with Pathaan. So for us to be able to be in 100+ countries on day and date, achieve the number of screens that we were able to, it's of course, there are many, many reasons there. First, I would give credit to my team that did a fantastic job on it. But more importantly, it's Shah Rukh Khan's comeback after a 4-year hiatus. That's been one of the biggest draws for audiences worldwide. You know, when we were making this film, and our chairman, Aditya Chopra, just talked about Shah Rukh Khan's stardom consecutively. He said, look, he is the biggest star in the world from Indian cinema, and we're just one film away from that. Now, at that time, we didn't know that film would be Pathaan. We were talking in the larger, broader sense. But his hiatus from the movie industry of 4 years, or being on the big screen for 4 years, is one huge reason for what we were able to achieve in expanding the global footprint of Pathaan.
Did you anticipate this? Could you have known that this movie was going to do this well? By the way, anyone who's watching this, if you haven't seen the trailer or the movie, it is an artful spy movie, Indian agent, like really cool. Like if you're a fan of, let's say, Mission Impossible or the classic spy movies with all the action and the intrigue, this movie takes it to another level. Could you have ever known this was going to happen with this movie, Akshay? Or did you know? Did you feel it like
something special? And you've watched the film, so you know all about it. And now we can talk about it at length because everything is out there. It also started streaming on Amazon Prime as of last night.
That's right.
You cannot make it to a theater. You can give it a shot on Amazon. Nice little plug there.
I love that.
But when we were making this film, we knew we had something special, Paul. We knew we were going to be able to generate a lot of buzz. The YRF spy universe has actually created its own brand equity. And with the success of Ek Tha Tiger, Tiger Zinda Hai, War, and now Pathaan, people knew what they could expect from us. So there was excitement. Keeping Shah Rukh away from the media gaze and the public gaze by consciously in discussion and conjunction with him, helped build the intrigue. So we knew we had something going, we had something right. The assets that we put out, the teaser, the trailer, the songs, everything generated a lot of chatter online. There was a lot of intrigue. The buzz was really high. But if you ask me, did I know we would be sitting where we are today at this box office number? No. I don't think any of us could have called this. And none of us did, to be honest.
No, and I remember on the Sunday morning when the movie was released in the US, and we were looking at the box office, and I remember this was like Avatar, The Way of Water, and Puss in Boots. These big major US releases were in the marketplace. And I love that. Like, the coolest thing for me to talk about that weekend was this movie, Pathaan. It was just incredible. And I think over the course of the pandemic, there's been an opportunity for great movies to find an audience. And I think international cinema, and in specific, Indian cinema, has really come to the forefront. And again, I want to break down these numbers for this opening weekend in North America, or in, the domestic market, US and Canada. So Avatar, The Way of Water was number one with 15.9 million, almost 16 million. Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, 10.5 million, and Pathaan, 6.9 million. And then A Man Called Otto and Megan and Missing and Plane, and there were some great movies out there. But I think the really cool thing was that this movie got a lot of attention because it was competing in the US marketplace and right in there in that top three. Akshay,
Yes.
I mean, that's incredible, right? I mean, that just shows. I don't know if you would have seen this a few years ago, although Indian cinema has been very popular in the US market, but I think now it's all audiences are discovering these films, and that's really exciting. I think
it's been, so that weekend was one of the most thrilling weekends we've had in a couple of years, where we sat back and just watched these numbers come in, and sometimes it was just hard to believe that this was really happening, and it was true. But we loved every moment of it. The pandemic has played a big part in some of this, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
We've all, during those 2 years of the pandemic, we all, tasted and experienced international content. So for us, it was whether it was Korean content or
Right.
Content from Latin America, or for the Americans, it was again from India or Korea. I think we all somewhere got a flavor of it. And what I've started to sense is there's a lot of intrigue and interest in the Indian culture and storytelling.
Yes.
People want to know more about us. People want to hear our stories. And when a Pathaan comes and it does what you just described that it did, that just, kind of empowers us more to dream bigger, to aim for, more such benchmarks in the coming few years. And I feel it will happen.
You have a visionary approach, right? And I think it's been not an overnight thing. This has been built up over time. And the growth of Indian cinema in the international territories, I think, is really important. I think it may have started with DDLJ, also with Shah Rukh Khan in 1995, right? That's where it started. The Indian diaspora started consuming their cinema in a big way. What do you have to say about this journey? I mean, this is a long time coming, but it's so great to see this happening right now in modern cinema.
As a company, we've been telling stories for 5 decades. And, Yash Raj Films was founded by the late Yash Chopra. Mm-hmm. And today it's run by his son, Aditya Chopra, who is our creative head and content, decision maker on everything we do. They have actually shaped the contours of our industry in some way. They've
Yes.
always believed in telling stories about Indian culture. And somewhere that resonated with a diaspora audience outside. So if you watch DDLJ, which I'm sure you have, it was a story about an Indian boy brought up in the United Kingdom, but his values and his core and belief system was as Indian as it could be. And I think at that time, that's what resonated with audiences. So the families and the older crowd loved the fact that here was a child brought up there who still had his value systems. And the youngsters at the time thought it was so cool that he had those value systems. So it started, I mean, DDLJ was just a phenomenon and it just became a global rage. I wish I was part of the company when that happened. I would have just loved to have experienced it. I've got a taste of it in Pathaan, but if I think back of what that journey must have been like for the family and the organization, it must have been just this wonderful.
Amazing.
So, I think.
And Akshay, is this true? Are you only the second CEO of the company in 50 years?
Yes, that's right. It was primarily a family-run business. And over the last 20 years is when we've actually started to corporatize, and we're that company that builds everything ground up. So we start slow, but we have a vision and we have a long-term plan and we keep working towards that. So all the business verticals that you see in Yash Raj films today have all been built over the years. We are not that company that goes and acquires other companies or wants to, take the shortcut. So we've always built everything ground up and we've able to achieve all that we have over the last 50 years doing so.
So cool. And I love that the legendary Mr. Yash Chopra was considered the king of romance. I want to talk about that a little bit, and pioneered romantic films in Bollywood and Indian cinema. In the last few years, though, you've been going to the action genre. And I love that, right? Because to me, action films are romantic as well. But can you talk a little bit about that transition, this transformation for the company?
Yeah, I think, every studio worldwide goes through this phase. When you've been telling stories as long as we have, you cannot stick to just one genre. Our audience's tastes are evolving, markets are changing. There are so many bigger factors at play that you have to take all of that into consideration when you're designing a film slate. So it's not only about what star is available and what budget you want to put to it. There is a larger, it's a marriage of arts and science. And that's how you design a film slate. Of course, when Mr. Chopra told most of his stories, he told the best romantic, he taught India how to love, if I may say so. He actually knew what the audience pulse was when he was making films.
Right.
I think his son Aditya, who also started as a romantic filmmaker and made India's most beloved film, DDLJ, is today able to have a few franchises under his belt. Whether it's the Spy Universe now, which is with, Ek Tha Tiger, like I said, the Tiger franchise, War, Pathaan now.
Yep.
If it's the Dhoom franchise, which was youthful, aspirational. We have the Mardani franchise, which Rani Mukherjee has spearheaded and frontlined for us. It doesn't stop here, Paul.
Yeah.
The way I look at the slate is, of course, we will continue to grow our franchise films because our audience is giving us love for it. So you're doing something right. But besides that, I feel we will continue to look for those real gems, high content scripts, high content films that will still have theatrical experiences for audiences.
I noticed on Pathaan, when the opening credits come on, there's that Yash Raj spy universe. By the way, everyone's doing universes right now.
Yes.
So not surprising that you're doing that too, but you're doing it in an interesting way. You know, the Tiger franchise, superstar Salman Khan, obviously a big part of that. And now war. Where does this all go? I mean, I feel like you're rivaling perhaps a Marvel universe, right? I don't think that's hubris. I think it really is something that I think we're going to see so much more of this. It's sort of your answer, the India's answer to the MCU. So let's talk about that a little bit. I just love that you're on that world stage not competing, but you're on par with something like Marvel. Talk about that a little bit. How does that come to be? And how did this spy universe come about? Was that a conscious strategy, or was it in the making, or was it, just happenstance? How did that come about?
Firstly, to be mentioned in the same sentence as Marvel Cinematic Universe is a big feat by itself.
Absolutely.
They are fantastic storytellers, and we always look at the work they do, and it's very inspirational. When Adi actually, and Aditya that is, wanted to, he wanted to build this universe when he started Ek Tha Tiger. But at that point, as a studio, we felt, first, let's get the content right. Let's tell the story we want to tell.
Mm-hmm.
We got the first one right. Then we did Tigers in the Head. That was bigger than Ek Tha Tiger at the box office. So we knew we were on the right track. Then we did War. By the time I think War released, we knew that we had something really special here. And there was a lot of intrigue and interest in this universe, which was not called a universe at the time. Yeah. But it was designed that way. When Pathaan released, we were quite certain that, we can now do this, and we can brand it as the spy universe. So while it was by design, but we chose to wait till the right time to announce it as a universe.
Is it different marketing a franchise film than a standalone film?
Yes, I mean, it's marketing a franchise. Actually, it's always easier because there's already brand and equity of the past films that help the coming film. So that makes it easier. But I think a few things that we've chosen to do with Pathaan, which also worked, and I should talk a little bit about it, was, like I mentioned, the Shah Rukh hiatus, or us consciously not marketing the film, not doing what we always do. If you recollect, we didn't announce the title till we had the date of the film officially from the studio. But everyone knew the film was being made. So the chatter and the conversation around Shah Rukh Khan's next film was there. But the studio did not announce the film. And when I look at a marriage of everything that happened, Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan coming on screen together was not marketed consciously. We wanted the audience to watch it and then talk about it.
Wait. I got to stop you there. So you have these two incredible stars coming together. And it sounds like this is an example of organic creation of buzz.
Yes.
You didn't force the issue. You didn't even create it. You made the movie, let the movie speak for itself. The fans discovered it. They were probably blown away, right? Like absolutely blown away.
That's what it was. So when Salman Khan enters in the film, you have to hear the audience's roar.
Gasp, right? They're like,
and
wow.
Then when you're on Twitter or on Facebook or on any social media platform, and you see clips of those audience reactions, that itself is a draw for you.
With that, I don't mean to interrupt you,
sure,
Akshay, but can that only happen at first in a movie theater, right? Is that a movie theater, the communal environment of the movie theater? I mean, because that's what we're really talking about. I love the movie theater. I know you do. I know you're committed to that theatrical exhibition. What's the difference between discovering something like that at home versus in a movie theater, in your estimation? Not to put you on the spot, but it's kind of a big deal.
No, it is. I mean, look, I think we all love consuming content, but there's certain kind of content we watch in the comfort of our home, and there's certain kind of content that we want community experiences in.
Yeah.
When you go back home after watching a Pathaan in a theater, and you have been through the experience of Shah Rukh and Salman on screen together, or Shah Rukh Khan's entry in the film, thank you. These are experiences that stay with you.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about it a few years later, you pull back to that moment that you were where you were when you watched this first happen.
Akshay, it reminds me, I was listening to someone at a convention or something, and they said, do you remember when you saw your first James Bond movie?
Yes.
And it was always in a movie theater. Correct. Where you remember that, right? Like there's something about being within the architecture, the space of a movie theater and having that experience that I think bonds with your psyche or your soul more than any other. And I think it really, I mean, the pandemic definitely changed the consumption patterns of, Indian audiences and all audiences really around the world. But I think the good thing is, the great thing about streaming and small screen is that it allows people to consume cinema from all over the world where they might not otherwise have that availability. Absolutely. So the over-the-top content is contributing to that. Can you see in the future orchestrating collaborations between Bollywood stars, South Indian stars to enhance the appeal of your productions?
Let me address the earlier part first, which I didn't finish. Yes. I think as a company and as an industry, we've understood that we have to give our audiences experiences like never before for them to come back to the cinemas and keep rewarding us with buying movie tickets. So when I talk about the Shah Rukh Salman scene and the experience that audiences took back, I have to now work harder to generate moments like that wants them to keep coming back.
How are you going to do that? That's a high bar.
It's not easy at all. But now we're very clear that the audiences are telling us this, that we will come, but make us experience something we haven't seen before, or something new, or something different. So the pandemic has accelerated that. It's not changed anything, in my opinion. It's accelerated what was already happening pre-pandemic.
Yeah. So is the future Indian stars and Hollywood stars getting together? I mean, on the big screen, is that something? I mean, I would think that Hollywood stars want to be in a creative collaboration with Indian cinema and Indian filmmakers, because it's undeniable the importance and the reach and the appeal of these films. I would think it'd be a benefit to both to have that kind of collaboration.
I think as we go ahead, Paul, there's going to be collaboration on all fronts. The Indian film industry makes up the North and the South, but they're not separate industries. They're still part of the Indian film industry. That's how we look at it. So while we're very proud of Pathaan, we love RRR. We're thrilled to see KGF 2 doing the numbers it did. A film like Kantara, I'm not sure if you got a chance to catch it, but it's a small film that's actually traveled and done really well. I can sure see collaboration between all of us as we go ahead, because eventually it's about the story.
It's world cinema, right? Yep.
Of today. The reason content is able to transcend or travel is because of the story of what you're making. Stars have value, but the story is now equally, if not more important. So the same way that I can see Bollywood and South film stars working together, you never know. You might have future collaborations, because eventually the world is getting smaller, and a Hollywood star would want to reach out to 1.5 billion people in India. And it's very possible that you could see that convergence. Is it
And
happening?
I
No.
love that, Akshay. I mean, it really is about world cinema, and it's the language that binds us together, in my opinion. And it's not about the language or the, it's just about great stories well told on that big screen. And I mean, I think when you look at, and with Comscore, we look at all the numbers. I'm obviously a cinephile. I love movies. I love Indian cinema. But I just have to ask you, how does it feel to deliver the highest grossing Hindi film of all time? I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's surreal. We're so grateful and thankful for it. It's come at the best time that, one could ask for. It's got our blood rushing. We've got an exciting few years ahead of us. I wish I could talk more about what we have planned, but
you can tell us. Come on, tell us all the secrets.
You will see those announcements in the course of the next few months coming out of the studio. But this is the start, Paul. I think the YRF Spy universe is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to deliver to its fans. Yeah. We hope to create more and more excitement. We want to engage our fans more with the universe. So while that's going to happen, you're going to see us telling stories in OTT. Our first show is almost getting ready. We have a couple more lined up. You're going to see us looking for gems, which are those, the scripts that you must tell as stories. You're going to see some of that content coming out of the studio for the theatrical market. So it's going to be a few exciting years ahead. There's a lot.
I can't wait to. Akshay, by the way, I'm Paul Dergarabedian with Comscore, and I'm interviewing Akshaye Widhani, the amazing CEO of Yash Raj Films, only the second CEO in 50 years. You look like a very young man, so you've got a lot of years ahead of you to do this. I want to talk to you really quickly, though, about the fact that by next year, India will be the largest country in the world in terms of population. In terms of production, it's already on top. In terms of the English-speaking population, India will be the #1 country in the near future. Yes. What are the areas today that you think are the bottlenecks for Indian cinema? Because I have to get a little, we're going to go a little, we got to get into this a little bit. And what are the kind of revenues that Hollywood or Chinese films are able to achieve? And obviously, Indian films are generating great box office as well. So what do you think the future holds, or what are the bottlenecks, and what does the future hold for Indian cinema?
So of course, we are an underscreened market, and we have 8,000 active screens today.
Okay.
Versus China, which has probably 70,000 screens.
Can you explain what that means, underscreened, for those who are watching and may not know?
Underscreened would be, if you look at the number of people to a screen across the population of a country, it's not very favorable in India.
Okay.
If the US has 50,000 screens for a population, and these are just, my numbers could be a little
right.
off.
I get it. Yeah.
Just for example, the US has 50,000 screens for a population of 350 million. China has 70,000 screens for a population of 1.3 billion. India has 8,000 screens for a population of 1.3 billion people.
Wow. Okay, let's let that sink in for a minute. That's pretty incredible.
So that's the runway that is possible if we are able to expand our cinema footprint. And when we are able to do so, you can imagine the kind of revenues we can see as an industry. Because Indians love the cinema. There's no denying that. It's part of our routine. It's part of our leisure. It's part of our celebrations. There are festivals in parts of India where you celebrate the festival in the morning and you go to a movie in the evening. So as Indians, we love cinema.
I'm very jealous, by the way, because I wish everyone in my universe, although maybe they are, we love cinema so much. And I think we're like so obsessed, but you have me beat and all my friends. And I always talk about this because I know my dear colleague, Raj Kumar at Comscore, we always talk about this, but he has done a great job of informing me and teaching me about the distinction between Indian cinema, Bollywood cinema. And I think this greater understanding of world cinema is so important. It like makes the borders smaller. It brings the world together. And I know that like India won an Oscar for the first time recently, and we have to talk about that a little bit. How do you think that impacts like the presence of Indian cinema at the Academy Awards, which this year I think was more widely watched than in recent years? Because let's face it, you had Avatar, The Way of Water, Top Gun, Elvis. You had some big films. You had 1.7 billion in domestic box office for the nominees, but it also meant that more people were watching the Oscar telecast and then watching all this incredible
natural performance.
Yeah, it was incredible. Talk about that. How does the Oscar halo effect, if you will, impact Indian cinema? Do you think that had a really, and I think I already know the answer, but that had a great effect, I think, on making an impression on viewers around the world about Indian cinema?
It's just a start, Paul. Like you said, right, we will have the biggest English-speaking audience in a few years. Being the most, we will also be the youngest nation with a huge population of youth and adolescents in a coming few years. And when that happens, that audience is hungry. That audience is aspirational. They will define what the youth really wants. And it could be defining for the entire world because the population size is so large.
That's really interesting. And if you think about it, I'm sure for you and for me, when did we fall in love with cinema, right? I was like 6, 7 years old.
Correct. So now they're still coming into our world. They're yet to experience our world. They're going to tell us. The signs will be there earlier of what they want to watch. And the 2 Oscars is just the beginning. I think you're going to see India break many more records. You're going to see us. It's given us a lot of vigor, a lot more confidence. It's put our content at scale of, with the best in the world, where audiences want to come and experience our content. So an Oscar, like I congratulate both The Elephant Whisperer and RRR on this huge, victory for Indian cinema. Yeah. Because thanks to them, people are now going to go sample more of our content.
A rising tide raises all ships.
Absolutely. That's what we believe. It's not about one person's victory. It's the fraternity at large that's winning. So when Elephant Whisperer wins, they win for all of us.
This is a big deal. Yes. I am so excited about this. And again, I'm talking to Akshaye Widhani, the amazing CEO of Yash Raj Films. We're going to wrap up here in a couple of minutes. Just want to ask you, and I have to ask you, so as you're aware, Comscore, formerly Rentrack, is the global box office measurement leader. We're the company that does that. How do you think Comscore will add value to the Indian film industry? I know we work with you very closely, but I think it's about the left brain, right brain. It's about the box office, and certainly, obviously, the creative part of filmmaking. But the box office is a big part of that. And when we report on that, it raises awareness for these great films that you're releasing. How does that add value in terms of your company?
2 parts. One is, of course, we're huge propagators of Comscore, and we've always been at the forefront telling everyone in the industry the value add that we see from a company like Comscore, because we're using the services internationally. And to be able to get real-time data helps us take a lot more informed decisions, even during the course of a film. So when a film is running in theaters and you're getting this data, it always helps you with decision making.
Yeah, that really is important, right? Because you have to be aware of, the opening weekend gross, the multiple, the second weekend drop, all these things that apply to everywhere in the world apply to Indian cinema. And you have to have that information, not only for the ability to keep track of the box office, but also plan your marketing strategies in weekend 2, weekend 3, weekend 4, and down the line.
But it's not only about the economics. What it helps us with is once we have this data real time, if we see certain markets are doing really well, we go in there and push it further to get more word out. So Comscore is very helpful when it comes to planning strategies around what we want to do with the film.
Yeah.
After we've launched. In India, we have 28 states, many industries, all part of the Indian film industry. And with a service like Comscore, it will be a huge value add for studios and producers because it will bring in a lot more clarity, transparency, real-time information for producers, studios to take informed decisions domestically as well.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. So that's amazing. I have my last question and I'll let you go here, but I have to tell you, I love it when an executive such as yourself is clearly a movie fan. And I love that. And offline, I want to talk to you about your favorite movies and all that stuff. We'll do that for maybe you'll be a guest on my podcast. But what does the future hold for Indian cinema on a global stage? I think we've kind of touched on it a bit, but in your estimation, what does the future hold for Indian cinema globally? How do you look at that?
That's
I know it's a big question.
Big one. If we're working on telling some of the best stories that we can, and these stories are now starting to travel. We've seen Pathaan reach 100 countries. We've probably had new audiences experience Pathaan that were not watching Indian films before. With the strength and with the reach of OTT, we're also touching new audiences that have not watched our content before. So there's a much larger ecosystem at play, which is going to only help grow the footprint of Indian cinema. The economics may be different from Hollywood today or from China, and they're not comparable, but we will continue to grow. We're here, we've been telling stories for many, many years. We will continue to tell stories, but I also believe that the world is now interested in our stories. They want to come experience diversity, culture. So it's only looking upwards for Indian cinema. And I feel we will achieve many more such benchmarks. I'm
all in, Akshay. I have to say, Akshaye Widhani, CEO of Yash Raj Films. I could talk to you forever. I love your enthusiasm. I think it's amazing. And for me, being in this business 30 years, to be able to talk to you. And I remember starting out in 1993 when I did, to imagine now I'd be talking to you about this incredible time for cinema, and particularly Indian cinema, is so amazing. It makes me, it makes me very emotional because I love how the Indian people love cinema, love movies, love going to the movie theater. And that's something I think we can all relate to, but it just brings us all together. When we're all in the cinema, we're speaking or feeling that international language of movies and that creative process. So thank you for being on the Comscore video series today with me. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to looking at or analyzing all your successes and look forward to all your movies coming up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Paul. This has been wonderful. It's been great talking to you, and I look forward to more of this in the future.
And hopefully we can see each other in person soon. I would love that. Maybe we'll go see a movie together. We could go see a movie in a cinema together.
When I'm in your part of the world next, we will do that.
All right. That's a deal. I guarantee it. Thank you so much, Akshay. Have a good one.